I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
This isn't just drama. It's an uprising. The noise is deafening, the tension unbearable, and fans everywhere are saying the one thing the league never wanted to hear. Sophie Cunningham supporters? They've had it. They're furious that her voice is being muffled by a league more obsessed with polishing its image than protecting its players. And now, whispers have turned into roars. People are asking, what secrets is the WNBA so desperate to keep locked away?
She spoke about the league, but more importantly, she stated she got another fine for actually talking about Paige Beckers. Now, we all ultimately know what happened last time. She had her podcast. She let it be known that Paige Beckers got that blue blood whistle, bro. And make a long story short, she stated the WNBA fined her for that. And she spoke about Bree Hartley. She also talked about Caitlin Clark rehab, but guys, it's unfortunate that she will be out for the remainder.
But here's where it gets explosive. The outrage is spreading like wildfire. Fans aren't just upset, they're demanding that Sophie Cunningham keep talking. Because let's face it, if the WNBA is punishing players simply for sharing their opinions, then what does that say about the league itself? This has grown far beyond basketball. What we're watching unfold is a battle for free speech, one that could expose whether the WNBA even understands the meaning of truth within its own walls.
WNBA have done it. They have done it. They have officially fined Sophie Cunningham every podcast episode. They have fined her because Sophie Cunningham has been fined. I'm not joking. She's been fined for a TikTok. She's been fined now, I think, for the third time for a podcast. I think Sophie Cunningham might be the all-time leader in fines in the WNBA, so let's take a listen.
And now the so-called voice of truth has entered the battlefield. Sophie Cunningham, who's become the fearless beacon of honesty in women's basketball, just shattered her silence. Her words, they tear the curtain back on a league desperate to bury transparency. What started as casual, harmless podcast chatter has escalated into a full-blown war between truth and control. But here's the chilling twist. Cunningham isn't retreating. She's standing her ground.
They are not protecting their players. Nobody's going to watch this if you're not protecting your star players. You're not protecting your players, period. But particularly your star players. No one's going to watch this. People are watching it because of Caitlin Clark, and then even more because of Sophie Cunningham. And if you're going to just hang them out to dry, then, good. Nobody's going to watch this anymore because they don't protect their players. It's a worthless organization. They have no idea how to protect their players. But, oh man, they're going to bitch and moan. Well, you better pay us the money. For what? You can't even protect your star players that draw the eyeballs. Now nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch to see the star players sitting out with injuries because of poor treatment and poor officiating on the sides. Nobody's going to watch that.
Then came the turning point. What should have been nothing more than another podcast episode, basketball talk, personal stories, morphed into a chapter that exposed the WNBA's obsession with narrative control. Sophie and her co-host Wes Wilson launched Show Me Something to have open, raw conversations about the game she loves. Instead, she discovered the brutal price of defiance. Every word spoken against the system comes with consequences she never imagined.
She has turned herself into a top 5 most talked about player in the WNBA. And can I tell you, I am loving the clips that are coming out of this podcast. There's just so much fascinating elements of her that make her this really alpha, really strong, but really beautiful, spicy villain. And I think she kind of likes being the villain.
Her voice cracked, but her resolve didn't. I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA, Sophie revealed on air. Each fine wasn't just money lost. It was another attempt to crush her spirit. She even pointed out how the league fined her over Paige Bucher's commentary that wasn't remotely offensive. But this time, Sophie drew the line. These weren't corrections, they were intimidation tactics. And instead of bowing down, she made a daring decision. She would no longer play by their rules. But how much longer could she fight back alone?
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle, on the quick whistle.
Yeah. But like, why? Like,
If we want to talk about Paige, here's a good question.
They fined her for saying Paige Beckers has a good whistle. Like, I kid you not, that is one of the craziest reasons I've seen a player get fined.
And then boom. The plot twisted in a way no one saw coming. Within days of Sophie's revelations, the fans rose up. Suddenly, she wasn't just a player, she was a symbol. Social media erupted, crowning her the truth teller, flooding timelines with support, and demanding the WNBA stop silencing voices that don't fit their polished narrative. When Sophie finally addressed the relentless fining, her words cut deeper than any headline. But behind those words, one question loomed. Could the league really afford to keep pushing her into a corner?
Along with how the W enforces their rules. And I know there's already been a big emphasis on referee inconsistencies, but at the end of the day, the quality of referees is on the WNBA too. Because again, I have no idea where the line is. Because on one hand, I kind of get it. It's normal for a league to fine you if you're going to talk bad about the league or the players in the league. Because that happens all the time in the NBA, NFL, and so on. But on the other hand, why does the league not care about its image when players are standing over and cursing out their opponents on the court? Like, where was the enforcement here? Or where was it here? Or where was it when the whole entire league was bullying your star player? And this stuff is happening all the time in the WNBA, but why is it only called on occasion? Which is why finding Sophie Cunningham every time she has a podcast seems kind of crazy, because the WNBA obviously chooses when and when not to enforce the rules.
Let's break it down, because this is where things get disturbing. Sophie isn't being fined for lies. She isn't even being fined for attacks. She's being punished for basic, reasonable commentary, things any analyst or fan could say aloud. Yet in today's WNBA, truth has a price tag. The numbers prove it. $500 for a harmless TikTok lip sync about referees. $1,500 for her very first podcast episode on officiating consistency. And most recently, another mysterious fine for pointing out that Dallas Wings rookie Paige Buchers seemed to get favorable whistles. Every penalty adds to a chilling reality. The more truth Sophie speaks, the more the league punishes her. And now, the fines aren't just numbers, they're warnings.
When you get fined, do they put like verbatim, like quote here, like this is why you're being fined and this is why it's this much? Or is it like, hey, quit talking shit on us, Venmo us like $1,500?
no. What happens is they email our GM, and she pulls me aside and she goes, "Come here, Soph, I have to talk to you." And this was in like front of everybody. And I was like, "What did I do now?" And she just smiled and she goes, "Hey, they're going to fine you again." They're like, I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. I did say that. And I said that
Sophie didn't backpedal. She didn't dodge. She looked straight at the criticism and said, "Yes, I said it. I stand by it. No denial, no excuses, just brutal honesty. But here's the chilling truth. This isn't about league standards or protecting reputations. No. This is about a league so obsessed with its image that it's willing to fine its own athletes for saying what every fan sees with their own eyes. Instead of fixing broken officiating or addressing expansion problems, the WNBA slapped Sophie with what amounts to a financial gag order. Even legends like Rebecca Lobo have admitted officiating issues exist. Yet when a current player dares to echo the same truth, immediate punishment. And now, the terrifying reality has come into focus. The WNBA has created an environment where its own players are too afraid to speak honestly about the league they play in.
like, look at the whole picture. What are we doing?
But Sophie didn't crumble under the pressure. She stared those fines in the face and made a choice. Keep telling the truth. You fine me $500. That's not going to stop me, she declared on her podcast. Then I'll get fined for this, fined for that, and the fines will keep coming. She's not naive. She knows exactly what the league is trying to do. But this isn't some accidental controversy. Sophie has made a conscious decision, transparency over comfort. And fans, they've rallied behind her like never before. Social media erupted with comments like, "This league is so messed up," and "Sophie, keep calling out their nonsense." The message was undeniable. Cunningham isn't just exposing the WNBA, she's exposing how desperate the fans are for someone, anyone, to finally tell the truth.
Cunningham tweeted about getting fined, basically saying that she thinks it's laughable and that the league probably has bigger issues they should be focusing on. Now, WNBA officiating has faced major scrutiny all season long from some of the league's biggest stars and coaches. You can find a ton of articles about it online where they're all calling for more consistency. One of the more quotable examples came from Angel Reese after the Chicago Sky lost to the Minnesota Lynx on July 6th. Reese said that the officiating has to be fixed. She said, "I don't give a you-know-what if I get fined because that stuff is cheap and I'm tired of this stuff." You get the point. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert addressed the officiating ahead of the All-Star game last weekend. She said that it is something that the league is continuing to work on and that they are on it. Engelbert mentioned that they spent...
Now let's talk business, because the WNBA's strategy isn't just flawed, it's flat-out self-destructive. Sophie Cunningham has become one of the league's most engaging voices, pulling in massive audiences and giving fans something they crave: authentic perspective. Her podcast isn't just content, it's appointment listening. Any smart league would embrace that, amplify it, celebrate it, but not the W. Instead, they've treated Sophie like a problem to silence. Compare that to the NBA, where criticism may bring a fine, but those fines are proportional, and the comments have to cross serious lines. In the WNBA, Sophie gets hit with hundreds or thousands for comments so tame they wouldn't even get noticed elsewhere. And here's the most disturbing part: other players are watching. They share Sophie's concerns about officiating, expansion, and operations, but they're terrified to speak up. Because in today's WNBA, honesty isn't rewarded, it's punished.
She'll happily pay those fines. I think they're only fining like $200 or something. It's something crazy. Like, Sophie Cunningham is making millions this year. Players don't get fined for speaking on one another, but every single player in the history of pro basketball has criticized officiating and been fined for it. No, she keeps doing the same thing, getting fined for it. She literally said Paige is a good whistle. That is what she said. She said Paige. Oh, the Paige fans, my God, Paige fans are fucked.
But here's the reality check, and it's one the league cannot ignore. Fans now have something they didn't before Sophie's podcast: an authentic voice they trust more than the league itself. They've already proven they'll follow her anywhere, fines or not. So the real question isn't, will fans support Sophie? The question is, can the WNBA survive the reputational damage it's inflicting on itself? With every fine, the league digs deeper into a hole. Sophie has given fans something they didn't know they needed: a player unafraid to defy intimidation. But the tragedy is clear: the system is broken. When fans celebrate honesty over highlights, when transparency becomes more valuable than the product on the court, when fines overshadow victories, the league has officially lost the plot.
She literally, when I tell you, y'all, I literally feel like they are just coming for her, because I feel like she should be able to say what she wants to say on her podcast. But that's just me. That's just how I feel. Then they came and then it came an earlier $500 penalty. I guess for a TikTok video, she was mocking the referees and lip singing. That was funny. So now I got a question for y'all. Do you think that she should be able to say what she wants on her own podcast? Or do you feel like, she should just shut it down and, stop bothering them with all this and that?
And make no mistake, the WNBA's campaign against Sophie Cunningham has already backfired. Show Me Something should have been their crown jewel. An authentic, player-driven platform that deepens fan connection, fuels real conversation, and showcases the league from the inside out. Instead, the league has turned it into a cautionary tale of paranoia and control. With every new episode, the fines intensify, almost like the league office is sitting on edge, terrified of what Sophie might say next. But here's the part they don't see. Every fine only amplifies her voice. Every punishment exposes their fear. And the most telling piece of this entire saga is that the WNBA doesn't know how to handle authenticity. They're sitting on a gold mine of organic content, and instead of nurturing it, they've built financial landmines to destroy it.
The amount of traction that episode was getting, folks were saying that she could pay that off just from her YouTube monetization. And so this is just interesting, because I've said before that I really wish the WNBA as well as other sports leagues would lean in to the athlete-owned media platforms, because fans are a lot more interested in hearing the perspective of people who actually play the sport than just spectators and people on the outside. So the fact that they are penalizing her for showcasing her frustrations, even though tons of players have done this, you know, post-game interviews or just talked about it on the internet in general, is very interesting.
Through it all, Sophie has remained shockingly composed. Her commentary is sharp, thoughtful, and never reckless, even as fine after fine rains down. But let's be honest, no one should be expected to endure endless financial punishment just for speaking truth. The writing is plastered across the wall, but somehow the league refuses to read it. Fans are openly standing by Sophie. Media figures are questioning whether the WNBA has its priorities backwards. Other players are whispering, waiting, watching, wondering if they'll ever be able to speak without fear. Meanwhile, the league pretends silencing their most authentic voice is good for business. Sophie has given fans something they've been starving for: brutal honesty. But even the most fearless truth teller cannot fix a culture that treats honesty as a liability. And if the WNBA doesn't change, that culture may consume them whole.
The entire league can talk shit about Caitlyn, but Sophie can't talk shit to Paige. No. And that's the funniest thing, is that Angel Reese can say some people have a special whistle about Caitlyn Clark in a public press conference, and it's selective fining. That's the problem. Like, Kelsey Plum has not been fined this year, and Kelsey Plum has literally just stopped entire press conferences to complain about the referees. Apparently Stephanie White didn't get fined when Marina Mabrey knocked Caitlyn on her ass, and then Sophie Cunningham took down JC Sheldon. Apparently Stephanie White didn't get, and Mazian did not get fined for both of them going mad at the referees.
And here's the tragic irony: the WNBA had everything it ever wanted sitting in its hands. Sophie Cunningham's podcast was a gift. Authentic content, organic fan engagement, and meaningful dialogue that could have boosted their product to new heights. Instead, they saw a threat. They chose punishment over partnership. What's happening here isn't just about fines. It's about a defining choice. Will the WNBA embrace authenticity, or will it smother it? And the decision they're making right now, it screams louder than any press release. Fans are watching. Players are watching. And with every fine, the league is writing its own legacy. Not one of progress, but one of control. And the most haunting question left unanswered is this: how long can a league survive when silencing its truth tellers becomes its top priority?